New camera, new microphone, new series. I don't know what I'm gonna call this yet. I'll probably figure it out when I make the title. But today I'm gonna be doing, I don't want to call it a reaction. Today I'm gonna be doing a discussion on a video that I found. It's another small creator, much like yours truly. She goes by babybunny. I want to get a sort of female perspective on the topics that I have already discussed and will eventually be discussing on this channel. Let me know if you like this. I want to do more of it and get different perspectives, because at the end of the day, the point of this channel is to create discussion. So what good is discussion if I'm the only one discussing? So today we're going to be discussing babybunny's video. The video is Men Stop Taking Dating Advice from Other Men. Before I get into it, I'll admit I did once watch this video, and that's what gave me the idea to discuss this specific one. I know I'm a small channel. Regardless, if in the future I get bigger, don't witch hunt this person. At the end of the day, the premise is discussion. So in discussion, your opinion might differ from someone else's. I'm gonna try and remain neutral. The point is to have a sort of peer-reviewed style. I'm not gonna be mean-spirited. This isn't meant to spread any hate. It's just for the sake of discussing someone else's opinions. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Okay, so today we're going to discuss why men need to stop taking dating advice from other men online. So first of all, it's not working. You guys are in like a male loneliness epidemic, you know what I'm saying? So like, stop listening to the same people over and over again and expecting a different result. Like, that's stupid. Sorry. But, you know, you can't keep doing the same thing and expect a different outcome, because it's not gonna happen.
Okay. So, I can see what she's saying. So, she pointed at one topic, which is the male loneliness epidemic. The male loneliness epidemic kind of goes hand in hand with, there's different names for it, manosphere, red pill, black pill, whatever. The biggest creators, the biggest influencers, you could say, in the manosphere are probably people like Andrew Tate or Hamza, Fresh and Fit as well. And without getting into too much detail, this will be a future video. These guys, a lot of them have status that, not to say you can't emulate, but you're not in a position to, you know, speak to women a certain way or act a certain way, like kind of like walking in and acting like you own the place, because you are just like everyone else. Regardless of that, I don't believe that you should be an asshole to anyone. But, you know, the issue that a lot of people who are very into the manosphere and watch all these Andrew Tate and Fresh and Fit videos, the thing that they don't understand as they're watching is your status is far different. You can improve your status by all means, but if Tate gets with a woman and he ends up leaving her, he has the next woman. Meanwhile, a lot of these guys, they don't have that option. So if they do finally try to get on a date with a girl and it goes south, well, then they're kind of sitting around waiting for someone else to pop up, to which they don't realize that they made a mistake, and then they do the same thing over and over again.
You guys need to listen to what women want. And like, I know you think it's too much work and blah 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 blah, then you don't deserve it. Like, I don't know, it's just, you can't have a girlfriend and do like no work unless you want a really bad like girlfriend.
Yes, my first video was more or less about this, and she might be leaning on a different aspect of it, but the core principle remains the same. If you want a girlfriend, by all means go and try and get one. But if you're in a position where you're not to say you're not worthy, but you're not the person you can be, and I don't mean you have to be perfect, but if you don't take care of yourself, if you're unemployed, if you have some sort of, I don't know, anger issue maybe, then it's not unfair to say, why would a woman want to be with you? I'm not saying you have to be you don't have to walk in wearing a Louis Vuitton suit and your gold wrapped Bugatti. You don't have to do that. But you have to have some sort of stability in your life, some redeeming qualities that are tangible. Okay, yeah, maybe if you're a bit unhealthy, but you have a stable job, or you take care of yourself physically, but you're unemployed, so you're still fine. Like, even if you don't necessarily have good qualities, if you have ambition and you have self-awareness to change, that's still better than nothing. And you could try, and the better you get, if you improve yourself little by little, eventually you'll find more success in the dating market.
Not bad as in like they're terrible to you, bad as in like they don't have any self-respect or stand up for themselves at all.
Yes.
And I don't think you want to be with that forever. Or if you do want to be with that forever, like someone with no self-respect, then you're just gonna have like a lousy life and lousy relationship, because that also means you probably don't have any self-respect, because you can treat someone like that. If you want like a good wife and kids, like, then look for someone that would be that, not like some, but yeah, like if a girl says, I want you to do this, blah 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 blah, don't throw a fit and be like, well, I don't know why I have to do that. Like, I don't see why I have to do that. Like, you look like a toddler stamping your feet when you like do that,
Okay, within reason, of course. I mean, you get what she's saying. Like, I'm not gonna get into specifics. She's not gonna get into specifics of what she's saying. But if you're in a relationship, you need to kind of reciprocate. There needs to be give and take, right? So if your woman asks you, hey, can you XYZ, like if she asks anything of you and you throw a tantrum, that's kind of what it goes back to my first NSN video, where it's like, well, in that case, you kind of don't deserve a woman because of your attitude. If you're throwing a tantrum, when you're asked to do something, then yeah, like it's completely understandable for her to be unhappy. You can get into the specifics of like, if a guy doesn't want to do everything, or if he doesn't want to do a specific thing for whatever reason, like you could play around with it, but it's like at that point it's just kind of have common sense, and like, and the term common sense isn't common, but you kind of have to, I guess, gauge it really.
Also, I believe that a lot of men should attempt to be breadwinners, because women these days, they're seeing how like their parents got treated and like how that dynamic was, and a lot of women are like realizing they make their own income to support themselves, and they oftentimes don't reap enough benefits to having a man around when they have to do so much stuff for the man. Like, I think that ideally I would be in a relationship where the man like works and like pays for everything, and then I'll do the housework. But you have to understand the strain you're putting on a woman by making them work and do housework.
Okay, in an idealistic world, I agree. If you see like in the 50s when it was the peak of the American dream, again, like I'm not from America, I'm Canadian, but it was that sort of concept where it's like you could have your man go out, work his middle class job, or even like a lower class job, and then be able to pay the taxes, have a car, and put food on the table without question. It's gone to the point, economically speaking, where it's not feasible. And I don't mean not feasible just for the average family. It's not feasible anymore even for like upper middle class. You could be making, here in Canada, you could be making six-figure, you could be making $100,000 a year just on one person. It's still barely enough to scrape by, especially within the manosphere. People don't realize how big of an effect that is. I would love to be the sole, in the future, I would love to be the sole breadwinner of my family, and then, you know, my wife stays home and cooks and takes care of the kids. By all means, that's fantastic. If she wishes to get a job, then let her get a job. I'm all for it. But in this day and age, it's exceedingly difficult. Not to say it's impossible, but it's exceedingly difficult. And as for who does what work around the house, at that point, that's family by family, that's up for them to decide. But to say that a man should be a sole breadwinner, it's difficult nowadays, unfortunately.
You know, because a lot of these men are like 50-50 men and greedy. Do you know how offensive that is? Like, one time, literally, a guy asked me to go on a coffee date. I never replied to him again. Only a coffee? Like, are you kidding? I don't even like coffee. Like, you could have asked that. Like, I don't drink any coffee at all.
Okay.
Like,
okay. I forgot about this part. I watched this video like, I don't know, maybe a week ago. You were talking with a guy, and he went and asked you, I assume online, if you wanted to go on a coffee date, and you just ghosted him because you don't like coffee. How is he supposed to know? She's kind of teetered the line of like making good points, vague, sure, but good points nonetheless. To I ghosted a guy because he asked me out on a coffee date. A coffee date is probably one of the most common, easy first dates that you can do. You go to a cafe or whatever, and you sit and you just talk. You don't even have to like coffee. You can get, I don't know, a tea. You can get a scone, a sandwich. You know, cafes aren't just coffee. They're not just chucking coffee at you. This is kind of an example of what modern men are kind of afraid of, which is like they put themselves out there, and you know, these women might have expectations that they really can do nothing about. I don't know who this guy, I don't know what this guy is or what his personality is, but you can't just be that dismissive. If you're that dismissive of guys who are trying to take you out on a proper date, it's gonna be, you're making it difficult on yourself. That's what it is. You're not having high expectations. You're making it difficult on yourself. If I took a woman out on a date and, you know, I said we're gonna go somewhere nice, so maybe dress up a little bit nicer, and she comes and she's wearing red, and I say, well, I don't like red, I would much rather you had worn black. How is she supposed to know that? It's a first date. You're nervous. You're just like, okay, dress well. So you put on a red dress, and I go and I say, I don't like the fact that you wore red, I'd rather you wear black. Well, what does that say about me? That's not me being a high value man. That's me being an asshole. I could have $1 billion. If I say that shit, I'm just being an asshole. I'm $1 billion asshole. Well, he asked me out on a coffee date. I don't like coffee. Why not suggest something else? Oh, well, I'm not a big fan of coffee, but maybe we could take a walk in the park. Maybe we could go for lunch. You're still a human being with likes, dislikes, and interests, so suggest something that you're interested in. Don't just be dismissive because of one misstep that anyone could have made. You could have asked a guy out on a coffee date, and he could have ghosted you with the exact same reasoning. If that's how you go about dating, then don't be surprised if you're still single by your 30s. It's not meant to be demeaning. It's just a difficult reality that we're in.
Like, just so pathetic. It's like, if you're not gonna treat me like a woman, like, why do you think I'm gonna reply to you? Like, hello, like, are you dumb? Like, get that into your skull, you know what I'm saying? Like, a woman that has value is not gonna reply to this crap, like, this, like, low value crap. Like, it makes no sense. It's like a waste of time, because I know there's gonna be other men out there that, like, are actually, like, reasonable men that aren't, like, so selfish and stupid, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, there's going to be other men that are out there. But with those other men, there are other women. There are other women that are going to be more willing. So, if you're dismissive, if you're just shooing away a good man that wants to take you on a coffee date and he just doesn't know, oh, she doesn't like coffee, well, you just lost out on $1 million prize.
Men just really need to start listening to women way more. And I know you guys like don't love to, but realize this for the betterment of both of you, because if you just listen, there's like no arguments. Like, happy wife, happy life. Like, repeat that in your head. Like, that is the truth.
Okay. Saying happy wife, happy life, in theory, it might go well. It might work for some couples, sure. But what do you mean, happy wife, happy life? You're happy because your wife is happy because your wife is nagging at you? Well, if your wife is nagging at you, you might be doing something wrong. Let's say you are doing something wrong. You're asked to do certain things and you're not doing them. You're just kind of sitting around all day. Then yes, in that case, sure. If you make her happy by doing basic tasks, like Bunny said before, then yes. But going further, with happy wife, happy life, it's just a coverall term that doesn't really fit into every single scenario. It doesn't really fit into every single relationship. If you're in a relationship and you're miserable, no matter how happy you make your wife, well, that's a problem, because your life isn't happy. You make your wife happy, but you yourself are not happy. I would replace the term happy wife, happy life with communication is key, because that's a coverall term that you can get behind, that works. If you and your significant other are discussing with each other what you want from each other, making some compromises along the way, that's a recipe for a happy life. A relationship, a healthy relationship, is about compromise. You compromise for the sake of the other person because you love that person and you want to remain with that person. There needs to be balance. If it's too leaned towards the man or too lean towards the woman, now suddenly one person is unhappy. Even if you have one person within that relationship that is bent on being far more submissive, if it's agreed upon, if it's a compromise between the two, and they say, yes, this is how we want our relationship to work, this is how we want our family to work, well, that's a balance. It can go both ways. I'm not against stay-at-home fathers. If your relationship works that way, by all means, continue. Compromise. Compromise is key. Communication is key.
You need to just learn how to treat a woman like a woman, and then you'll have a good relationship. Because this male loneliness epidemic thing is like really a joke to a lot of women, because it's like we're treated a lot of time like crap and like stupid, and then they're like, well, why won't anyone want to be with me? It's like, because you're acting gross.
Okay, I'm gonna try sometime in the future for this channel. I would love to do an NSN video on the female perspective of the male loneliness epidemic. If I could gather enough information, I would love to do that. Because if I could compile it, then that would be incredible. One, for the channel, and two, as a source of information for, why things are the way they are. The more perspectives you gain on a social topic, the better off you are. Unfortunately, she's not entirely wrong. There is a sort of stigma on the male loneliness epidemic in modern women, and I believe it has mostly to do with the fact that there's just a lot of misinformation. I know a lot of guys, I know a lot of good guys that they have no major issues. They're not your stereotypical incel, but they just can't find a woman. They just can't find someone to be with. But unfortunately, and this is more because of social media and just labels than really anything else, The image of an incel is someone that is just miserable and they live in their parents' basement and they don't take care of themselves and they're not doing anything about it to do better. I believe that's what your average woman in Gen Z nowadays has as far as an image of someone that's a part of the male loneliness epidemic. Are all men that are affected by that epidemic, are they like that? No. You have all sorts of guys that are dealing with their own issues in different ways that are a part of this epidemic. You have all sorts of people, and putting a single image and a single label on it is very detrimental, because as far as our generation goes, as far as Gen Z goes, that's a big portion of guys that are affected by this. There are guys that are affected by this and they don't even know they're affected. Finding a relationship has become exceedingly difficult. Finding a stable relationship has become even more difficult. It has nothing to do with incels and the red pill and the black pill and the manosphere and Andrew Tate and Hamza and all of these figures and labels and groups and what have you. It has to do with our greater society as a generation. This is a real thing and real people live it every single day. And it's really just the silent epidemic. It's the loneliness epidemic. It's a real thing and real people suffer. So, I don't blame Bunny or any other woman that puts that sort of label on it, because that's just kind of what social media shoves down your throat. They take the worst of the worst and use that as a coverall term for all of them. I'm assuming Bunny is single, but theoretically there could be a perfect man for her. He might have all the qualities that she might want, but she will never find him and he will never find her because he's just lonely and he doesn't want to go outside, or whatever reason he might have. And I'm just using Bunny as an example for any given woman. It could be any given woman could have her soulmate somewhere on the other part of town, and he could be the perfect guy for her, but she will never find him because he doesn't go outside or he doesn't talk to women because he's afraid, or again, whatever other reason you might give.
Men should inherently know to get flowers for women and take them on dates and stuff. And if you're throwing a fit about that, then you're a loser. Sorry. I don't know what to tell you. It's like women have been receiving flowers and stuff for decades. So it's really not that hard. It really isn't. And if you think it's hard, then you deserve to be alone. Or just with someone crappy and then have a crappy relationship. I don't know what to tell you. If you want a good, stable relationship, that's built off the man, because it's not the woman's responsibility. It's not.
Okay. Relationships are a two-way street. And, even if you're going to be a housewife and you're going to cook and clean for the men and whatever, it's still a two-way street. It takes two to tango. You can't be in a relationship by yourself. That doesn't exist. That's a complete oxymoron. So to say that the stability of a relationship is solely based on the man is completely false. If a woman doesn't do what she is asked of in that relationship, then it would be no wonder if that relationship doesn't go well, just as equally as if a man doesn't do what he's asked of, their relationship won't go well. And it also comes down to person by person. If you just have a woman that's not a good person in that relationship and she's blaming everything on the man, and the man is doing everything that he can for the woman and for the family even, if that relationship goes south, then you can't blame the man. You can't just say, oh well, he wasn't making her happy. Well, she was never happy. The only reason I'm nitpicking this part is because, again, it's another coverall statement. The stability of a relationship depends on the man. that's not true. It depends on both parties. A woman is a person. She's not an empty shell. So you can't just put that on a man and say, it's your job to make sure the relationship is stable. No, because you're dealing with a complete other person that you have to, as I said before, compromise with. Communication is key, compromise is key.
You know, and it's like, I don't know, I'm not trying to put men down at all, I'm just trying to tell you what you need to do, because the men are like, that are telling you what to do, are just telling you what women want is like stupid and worthless and whatever. But it's like, then you're not gonna get a woman. Like, understand what brings value to a woman and bring it to the woman, or else the woman's gonna walk away. And if she's not walking away, then they're probably not great, okay? So you just need to understand how to treat a woman and how to put in work.
So that was Baby Bunny's video. I think the core ideals, the core concepts that what she's talking about, I agree with. But I agree with them under the axiom that the economy is good and men are able to provide solely for their household. This would be the correct thing to say 60 years ago, but it's just not the case anymore. These things just don't happen, and it's probably the most unfortunate thing for our generation is the fact that we can work as much as we do, we can succeed in our careers and make as much money as we can, but we're still just scraping by. And I think that's the big factor that she's forgetting. My second thought was, there was a point in this video where she was talking about the guy that she ghosted, where I couldn't help but think, this is exactly what guys in Generation Z are afraid of when trying to search for a woman. This, regardless of the fact that, according to Bunny, this guy was no good and was trying to hit her up while he himself had a girlfriend, it still doesn't shy away from the fact that he did ask her out on something as basic as a coffee date, and she didn't even give him the courtesy to politely decline. She just ghosted him. This is what guys are kind of afraid of, and if that's what you believe, if that's the method that you go through, where it's like, well, I want a man that's going to take me out to dinner on the first date, like a nice dinner. I mean, okay, I strongly advise against it, but okay, maybe you could at least do the courtesy of like a quick single sentence explanation to the guy. I'm truly kind of dumbfounded by that whole statement. I don't see the logic. And, you know, not to dog on Bunny, the fact that she's able to record herself and her thoughts and put it out there, hats off to her. That's not easy to do. Trust me, I know, I'm just starting off on this channel. So, you know, she's not stupid, but misguided and misunderstanding of the situation, yes, absolutely. These are just not expectations you can have. It doesn't fly. If you as a woman, and this can go for men as well, but if you as a woman are struggling to find a relationship, but on the flip side your approach is being dismissive of every single guy or most guys that try to approach you, you need to reevaluate what you're doing. You can't shoo away men while you're looking for a relationship for the most minute detail. If you don't like his personality, if you're not fond of the way he carries himself, if it's something a lot more heavy hitting, something a lot more fundamental to that person that you just have as a complete deal breaker, then sure. But if you nitpick every single detail about someone that tries to approach you, and then you're sitting in your own bed saying, why can't I find a man? Well, you need to check yourself. Introspection is a very powerful tool, and unfortunately, it's not something that a lot of people do. If I could give advice to Bunny, and who knows, maybe she does end up watching this video. If you do, then hello, I greatly enjoyed watching your video and discussing it, and I wish you all the best for your channel. But if I could give advice, I would say be a bit more open-minded and communicate a little more. That guy, you know, if he had a girlfriend and he was talking to other girls such as yourself, yeah, that's bogus, that's weird. I can only assume that you're doing it with, like, every single guy. And this isn't me trying to make any damning assumptions. This is more so the image you put out for yourself. But if that's the mindset that you go into trying to find a relationship, you need to be more open. And in her case specifically, I would communicate more. I would remember the fact that I'm my own person with my own interests, so maybe share them with someone that's trying to approach me, and we could find a compromise, and maybe, just maybe, you could find your guy that can and will let you be a stay-at-home wife while he goes and he works. But anyways, yeah, I very much enjoyed making this video and discussing it. It's 1 in the morning right now, and I gotta be at work at 8, so I'm gonna go straight to bed after this and probably edit it later. But if you do like it, if you do enjoy it, then let me know. And if you have maybe even something that you would like me to discuss, be it a topic, video, or what have you, some form of media, then by all means, I'd be glad to consider it. I'm Nuke. Thanks for watching, everyone.